This is revenue marketing raw. No fluff, no vendor pitches. Just the truth your CMO won't say out loud. Featuring Jeff Pedowitz and Dr. Debbie Qaqish. Let's go!
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. After a couple weeks off for PTO, back and hitting it hard today. So what I want to talk to you with you guys about today is really AI in the workforce of the future. You know, there's been a lot of talk about, hey, what's happening even before AI, right? Doing more with less, all these pressures. And so, you know, are we being honest about really what's happening right now to marketing, to our works, because of AI and other factors? So, you know, at conferences, you might hear spin or some polish, but, you know, let's get down and dirty. The reality is it's getting tough out there, a number of different levels. We've seen senior marketers get their jobs eliminated due to cost. We're seeing a lot of junior marketers coming out of school not have the same openings because AI is starting to automate and operationalize a lot of those things. If you're in the middle of your career, the world's your oyster right now. But it begs the question, how do we actually train and develop the marketers of tomorrow if they're not even getting a chance to get out of the gate, to get out of school? So I think we should be asking ourselves, are we in denial as an industry? Are we overreacting? Are we genuinely confused? I mean, what's going on? The reality is certain jobs are going to definitely be safe, and there are certain jobs that are at risk, particularly junior level jobs, copywriting, graphic design, some of those basic items. That's really a key thing. And a lot of leaders have already started to replace roles with AI. They're just calling it efficiency. They're not publicly labeling it because of AI. So why does this moment feel differently from every other technology will change marketing cycle? And, you know, what's going on with marketers? Are we feeling scared? Are we concerned? You know, what's happening? I'm a big proponent myself of human plus AI. I think AI definitely can automate and do a lot of amazing things, but we need the emotion, we need the context, we need the strategy, and we need a human with governance and ethics on top of all this stuff. But the reality is our world's changing, and it's changing really quickly. So how do we start to prepare for that? What does our org look like, not just this year, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And how do we as marketing leaders start preparing for it? So, you know, there are jobs that are being eliminated by the week, by the day. And I don't know that people are necessarily admitting to what those are. So, you know, definitely SEO, basic copywriting, ad operations, routine reporting, simple design. We're seeing a lot of those tasks go away completely to AI. There's teams, you know, there's been stories about entire content teams being gutted overnight to be used for AI. Now, I'm not saying that AI necessarily can replace great copy and great content as good as a senior content person can. What I'm talking about here is the reality, though, is it is happening, and these AI tools are getting better all the time. So I talked a little bit about that entry-level pipeline and that crisis. Just even stories on the Big Four, Accenture, Deloitte, they've cut grad hiring by over 30% in the last year alone. And so if you don't have that bottom rung, and if you're graduating school right now, it's a scary time to be a marketer because there's less jobs that are available for you to start getting that practical experience in. So how do we actually start building the senior marketers of tomorrow if there are not enough junior marketers to train? And I'm going to ask Deb to join.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, I was wondering if you were going to be able to join me today.
Oh, yeah. I actually sent you a note. I thought it was in the back room, but it wasn't quite in the back room. So it was a button below the fold. So sorry.
I'm like, I'm going. I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to go this without Deb. And
it's one of my favorite topics, the workforce and what the hell AI is doing to the workforce.
Absolutely. And so I don't know, you probably were just hearing me as I was going on. I looked down, I'm like, oh yeah, Deb's in the back room. Shit. So yeah, Deb, I mean, I think it's real, right? I mean, I think people are trying to talk past it like it's not going to be a factor, but it is. And it really is going to be a factor. And we're seeing it now, right?
It is. We are absolutely seeing it, and I saw your point about how who was it had cut their
The big four
grads
yeah.
by like 30%.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because what do they do anyway? They just do this kind of research, and you can just have a lot fewer people doing that research. And and my number one thing about AI in the workforce is if you're scared of it, too fucking bad. I don't know what else to say to you, right? It's like saying, okay, one day you come to work and you now have a computer and you've never had one before. Remember back in those days when they were gigantic and on your desk? You have no choice in this. So rather than whining and crying like a baby, you need to get into it because it is the world that we live in, right? And AI is it is a part of so many people's lives, and it is transforming the workforce, how we do business, relationships. It has been transforming every aspect of our life. So, when we think about the marketers and the IT departments and the sales organizations that we work with, to try to bury your head in the sand is one of the most ridiculous things that I've ever seen. Now, what can you do about it, right? And Jeff, you started to talk about what we're seeing some organizations do, how it is affecting their hiring practices, how it is affecting their org charts, and also how it's affecting salaries. So why don't we talk about those? Let's talk about, hiring practices for the marketing organizations that we work with.
Well, we're already seeing significant changes in hiring patterns and roles. First, of course, we saw a big movement in nearshore and offshore to replace some of the U.S. labor. Mm-hmm. But now, Deb, I think we're seeing like a jump the shark moment where people are like, well, I don't even need to go nearshore or offshore. I'm going to replace some of these roles with AI. Mm-hmm. And so there's been very purposeful headcount reductions or pressure on marketing leaders to reduce that headcount. And so we're just seeing a lot of movement at once. I mean, certainly at the CMO level, we're definitely seeing more of a rise of fractional, which I think is a good thing if you want to go that route.
It's everywhere all of a sudden. Yeah. And I don't think that's because of AI. I think that's because...
No, not in and of itself.
I think a lot of that is corporate America is tired of paying that big salary and they don't feel like they're getting the return on that role. That's what I think is the reason for all the fractional work.
I definitely think that's a big part of it. I think a lot of CMOs also feel they can be more effective this way when they can go in.
Oh, yeah. Because we know so many people who've gone from full-time CMO to fractional CMO, and they love what they do now because it's, why? Because it is very focused. Versus so many CMOs were 27 hats at one time, and it's who's yelling the loudest.
Well, get caught up in all the politics and
you can't perform in that environment. But when you come in as a fractional CMO, it is typically very, very focused. So you can be that much more successful. So I absolutely understand why we have so many friends that are now being fractional CMOs. It's much more fulfilling work for them.
So that's definitely one. I think. One thing that is true, I mean, yes, there are jobs, and I already talked about some of them that are getting just gone. But then the rest of it, it's not so much that AI will replace humans as much as people using AI well will be replacing the people that don't or refuse to
exactly.
use it. So I think AI fluency and skill development should be a critical priority for marketing leaders, including themselves, by the way. And we're not just talking about getting comfortable with prompting. That's certainly a good place to start, of course, if not even doing that. But, how do you really start understanding within your software? I mean, because with Salesforce and Adobe and HubSpot and all these other Microsoft, they're investing billions of dollars into AI capabilities. Are you using them? Are you learning?
Well, the answer is no, they're not.
Yes.
Because, honestly, Jeff, it's like any other capability that, the big software vendors bring into the products. Hell no, it's not being used the most effective way. And how many times have we said, if you just increase the productivity in using your own product by 10%, what an impact that would make? And we do keep saying that you have to really understand the technology that you have, but I think AI is at a whole new level, right? Really understanding what the AI capabilities that you have in-house right now with the software that you have, because companies that we buy our tech from, they are investing millions, billions of dollars in this. And so marketers really need to take advantage of that. They're not being left in the dust, right? But they need to understand what they have in their own hands right now.
Well, they are if they don't engage. And I think you already said it. I mean, even that, I mean, and you could make a fair argument that the vendors are probably outpacing where the market is by a degree.
As always.
But that doesn't negate the responsibility of the marketers to actually earn and start using what's there versus, look, I feel like there's so many parallels to the .com era where now, because something has AI in it, everyone wants to go buy and this.
That's right. And you put AI on something, whether it's really AI or not.
Yeah. And so, well, I guess we're going to start seeing, we are starting to see Super Bowl commercials, right? With AI. But I think though, you have to use what you have. Almost everyone has a major system in-house just about, so whether it is one of those, you start using that, take one LLM and get comfortable with that, at least get your proficiency up on that team, start putting together standards on what does success look like with AI for your team, what kind of skills you're going to be investing in, and you yourself as the marketing leader, get educated. That's a good place to start. It
is. And another great place to start, and we've seen this and we do some of this work, is, bring your whole marketing team together and say, what AI do we have in our hands that we can use, and how can we improve that? And, what is our map moving forward for AI capabilities, and how we will bring that into marketing so that we can really bring in that revenue. So that's the other thing, is to map AI capabilities into your organization in a very intentional way.
Deb, you think our audience is surprised hearing you and me talk about connecting shit to revenue?
No, they're not. They're not. We can't say a sentence without saying revenue.
That's right. Yeah. That's all I'll do. So I think, getting more into the nuances, it's also important not to be dismissive, right? Because certainly the execution jobs, those are easy targets for AI. And at first glance, you might say, well, if I'm strategic and I'm truly creative, I won't have to worry because AI can't do strategy. As long as you're truly being, are you really being strategic and uniquely thinking, or is it a pattern? Because if you're just using tools and templates and research, that's something that AI can replicate. So
Jim, you and I are very strategic, and we use AI all the time.
We do. To make us better strategically, but also it's about critical
thinking. What are we missing? What should we be thinking about? What's a broader view of this? What's a different view of this? How should I be thinking about this differently? All of those things, absolutely. Because
I'll tell you that I have yet, and I'm trained and I work with AI all the time. One of my biggest frustrations actually is it's too complimentary. Like, when have you ever heard AI tell you, Deb, boy, that's a stupid ass idea. Debbie, don't do that. Because normally it's like, great idea. That's interesting. Yeah. Great job, Deb.
It never says, Debbie, you dumb. It doesn't say anything like that, right?
What the hell were you drinking this morning?
That's exactly right.
I've ever heard. But it's normally brilliant idea.
Jeff, it won't say bless your heart either, but I'll get that trained in pretty soon.
You got to work on that. You got to get that bless your heart moment. But, I'm worried it's not just about automating, but if as marketers, if we lose our ability to think critically, to have enough self-awareness to think about what is it this thing just spit out. Like, if you're just trying to copy and paste it and move it from this bucket to that bucket, well, then you should lose your job because you're not adding any value anyway.
That's right. You should. That's exactly right. If that's all you're doing is showing up and cut and paste, you don't belong in a modern marketing organization at all.
So let's go 5 years out. It's 2031.
It's going to be very sci-fi, 2031.
Totally, yeah.
Very, very futuristic. Yes. We'll walk in the morning and we'll be like, computer, I need to get 3 campaigns out by tomorrow, and they need to do this, this, and this. And can you write that white paper for me? And I want that done in like 10 minutes. Do you think that's possible?
Shit, I think that's possible now.
I do too.
But I think it's not that marketing goes away entirely in 5 years, but I think teams will be smaller. Maybe if you have a 20-person, 25-person team today, your team's probably somewhere around there. Your team's going to be half the size because you can just do it, even though the example that you just cited, but all these things are going to just be so much more automated and easier to do. What functions do we think are going to still be here, though, in 5 years in marketing as we kind of go through the department?
I'm not sure that we would have any functions go away. We might have a consolidation. We might have some new functions, right?
Yes.
For example, everybody needs a lab department, an experimental department, right?
Yeah.
Wherever that lives, someone needs to be thinking all the time about AI and how it affects the work of marketing.
Yes.
It would be a new area.
Yes. I do think, though, certain functions today that are standalone, if you're doing, let's say, social execution, email execution, paid media management, SEO writing, things like that, I think all those functions go away because all of that can be automated. But strategy,
it won't go away. We'll just be doing it differently with AI, and you'll need fewer people to do that.
Right. But yes, but I mean, I think then you don't then. Today, though, in many, at least larger organizations, these are teams, right? These are separate departments.
They're separate, and that's a mess in and of itself.
And I just think that most of those teams and those sub-departments go away. Yes, I agree with you. The function, the utility of the function continues to survive. But as we talk about the role, people doing that function, I think
I agree. And I think that's better. And I also think that, I know we're talking about what functions will stay and what functions will go, but as we think about this whole social media, kind of interaction function that we've got right here, I also think that we're going to see much more focus and understanding of the customer, because your ability to screw up is a millionfold, right? So you're going to have to understand the customer. So one of the things I'm hoping to see is like a customer experience organization that really is a customer experience organization. And that customer experience organization is united across all customer facing functions of the organization, right? So, and again, marketers love to talk about focus on customer. Their companies don't like to talk about focus on the customer, at least when it comes to spending and doing those kinds of things. But I think that AI is going to allow that to come forward and be the group that we've always wanted it to be.
We can certainly hope so, or maybe we're just being naive, and the reality is people will just still find a way not to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think that's a great opportunity where you can actually really start to use and leverage AI to create bespoke, true customer engagement led through marketing.
How do you think demand generation will change?
Well, again, I think the pure strategist will remain. I think almost all the execution goes away. Again, from a role, not that we stop executing demand, but I think it's going to be done by agents.
Right.
But I see today's marketing ops role evolving. You're becoming more of an AI process architect, versus, let's say, today you're managing marketing automation.
Well, let's hope you are, right?
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's where the role evolves.
And Jeff, I say that in all honesty because, when AI was starting to come into the fore, was it how many years ago? I lose count, 3-4 years ago. Marketing ops was way behind. They did not jump on it. And that probably was because the early AI was really all about content. But you and I talked to many marketing ops organizations who were doing literally nothing with AI. So the idea of them becoming AI process architects and strategically owning the AI capability and what it means to marketing and how it can help marketing perform better and the company perform better, yes.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But I do think that's a potentially new role that comes about. I think brand strategy, not brand execution. I think sales alignment and higher level content direction, content orchestration.
Yeah, sales alignment, that's going to be, or sales marketing blow up, one or the other, because again, we are seeing with AI, there's nowhere to hide between that relationship.
I know today we're mostly talking about marketing, but I would not be surprised if almost the entire sales function goes away.
By 2031?
A lot of it, yeah. Because look, think about what we've already been seeing even before AI, Deb. Buyers are 90% through the journey. They're very self-sufficient.
Yep.
So rise of e-commerce by 2031, agentic commerce will be fully well established. So if you can get every single information, you can do all your comparison, you have your pricing, you know everything you need. What do you need a salesperson for?
Exactly.
I think that role maybe gets replaced with perhaps industry experts, that act more as coaches and strategic advisors to help.
I think that is also true, especially more the transactional sales organizations. I think that is especially true. And what a way to save money, because you now can create an algorithm that ensures success and it's executed right every time.
And it doesn't get caught up emotionally, and it forecasts with higher accuracy based upon that criteria. So I think those are definitely some things. So I think that the marketing org chart changes, as these functions go away. So whatever you want to call them.
What do you think happens to RevOps? We like to talk about RevOps a lot.
I think RevOps morphs into some kind of AI systems operations. Where you're intelligently managing the revenue agent processes within the systems. So, you look at, yes, we talked about today, there's a sheer gap between, let's say, what Salesforce is doing with Agentforce and HubSpot with Breeze and stuff. But, you go 5 years out, the proficiency will rise. And now you're going to need people that really know how to manage, because you're going to be talking about hundreds, if not thousands of AI workflows and agents that are running in and out of these systems. So you need people that can really think.
You do.
Processes,
which
raises the whole. You don't need as many, but it's almost like tomorrow's data scientists, if you will, but they're really sophisticated at managing these AI. So I think that would be one.
I agree.
I think good strategy, not something that you could just copy and paste or type something in, but people could really think uniquely. And I think a couple of really strong creatives, because you still need.
You do. You need to engage, right? You need to make, and people are visual. They respond to that. So absolutely.
So I think those are some of the ones. So and then there's going to be new jobs. You think about.
So let me ask you this. So let's talk about this new generation coming into the workforce, right? And so let's say you have an 18-year-old. Our kids are both older than that now, but let's pretend we have an 18-year-old. Okay.
I like that, because that means that you and I could be younger, right?
Oh, yeah. That's the whole point. So let's say she will be graduating in 2031. What kind of job should she be prepared to look for? And what kind of degree should she try to get?
I think she should be taking classes in AI now, develop not just prompting, but workflow orchestration, agentic development, learning about data and relationships. I know marketers like to blow off a lot of the business classes, but
can't do it.
There's still important principles like economics are their foundational principles. Accounting.
And Jeff, not only that, they need to hone their thinking ability and their critical analysis ability. Yeah. A lot of times, the arts, like a fine arts program, will do that, right?
Yes, communication. They take speech classes, where you're doing public speaking, do creative writing and copywriting, do you think
it really is developing a thinking capability, right? Not just,
but also maybe emotional intelligence, like social.
Oh no, completely and totally agree with that.
I think social media has robbed a generation.
Oh, it has.
To be able to interact and engage.
It has.
So fucked up with these algorithms, and they have a distorted sense of reality of what people are actually like.
They absolutely do. And again, that, I know we're not really, that's not the topic, but I would just ask him for AI purposes, what kind of job. We can talk about, how we're poisoning our youth with social media, but we'll talk about that, in another topic.
Next week.
Next week. Yeah, we'll talk about that one next week. But again, I just want to go back to my original statement. If you're not into AI, too bad, get on board, or you need to go find a new job somewhere else. Because in the world of marketing and in the world of sales, honey, it is all about AI. And it is the future. And you need to be able to plot your career path with AI in mind. Jeff and I, we work with a lot of friends who are in between jobs, CMO, VPs. And when I don't see AI on the resume, I'm like, oh my God, you got to put AI on that resume. Then you have to explain, what you can bring to the company with AI. It's not just about AI.
Yeah, and whether or not, I can understand there's a lot of reasons to be cautious or angry with AI, environmental impacts, and all those things, but the train's left the station, and yep, so you do have to do that. So there are, I think what people get lost in, they focus in on the jobs that are being lost, and there will be, but there will also be jobs that will be created. And I think the World Economic Forum is predicting that there's, while we might be losing, let's say 60 million jobs, we're going to be gaining, 120 million jobs. So there's going to be new careers. So I think we talked about an AI systems manager, but I think a workflow architect, someone that can really understand how to rebuild marketing workflows within an age of AI.
And again, I want to put the thing back in there about the customer experience too. I just think that has to be front and center. And where that lives, now that's a big question.
Well, maybe with all the money they're going to be saving with other jobs they can find.
That's right. But AI allows us to understand our customer better than ever before, and you can't screw that up. So I really think we're going to see some kind of new role around customer experience with AI or something like that.
I agree. What we talked about last time, AEO, I think there's the AEO GEO specialist, which is different, of course, than SEO. Now,
in 5 years, Jeff, that could be gone too.
It may very well be, but I think it's a job yet, though, that's just emerging because
it is.
It's changing.
So you have to be agile, right? And you have to be open. And careers are not stair step anymore. So you just have to be. So you just have to. And we're not talking about going from company to company either. We're talking about what's needed in the market and the skills that you bring, and how you have so many more opportunities to grow quickly, being in the right place with the right skills in the market.
Yes, absolutely. But there's more too. I think brand integrity. So, as AI starts to output
absolutely
more, how do you ensure your brand is represented through?
Folks, there's no hiding with AI. Right, there's not going to be any misinterpretation of data if things are set up correctly. It's going to be pretty black and white.
Well, yes, but if we have the ability, we already do now. You can generate tens of thousands of assets, right, with AI. Mm-hmm. Who's making sure that as all this crap's getting put out there, that it actually reinforces and supports your brand, and how do you do that at scale? So I think that's a role potentially.
That should be another AI program, Jeff.
Could be. It could be. Yeah, maybe it's an agent.
Check what you wrote. Check if it's working, right?
You have campaign supervisors become agentic campaign supervisors, right? So you're managing the agents that are developing the campaigns. So to make sure that they're doing it properly.
Well, and let's think about this. The other thing in marketing ops is that their approach to working with technology may be very different. Rather than having these large systems that have everything inside of it, it could be just a whole series of AI apps that work flawlessly together, right? So whether that's IT or whether it's marketing ops doing that, that's a different way to think about running your tech stack.
Yes, but then you're going to need people that can manage those components.
Yeah, absolutely.
And make sure it's and then
we need just some AI bot managers, right? Or strategists,
that would be another good one.
Or developers, and development, right? Just think about the role of development now in marketing. Some MarOps does actual, dev work, but we're going to see a lot more dev work in marketing.
Yes, and now that you have the ability to write code easily, I think it threatens a lot of the.
Even I can do it, folks, and so that says something right there.
I've seen some of the stuff she's built. So but that changes things. So you're like, okay, geez, I'm spending whatever, $1 million on software a year. Why I'll just build what I need, and I don't have to spend anything.
And it's good enough for what I need, right? And it's only what I need. So
yes. You mentioned customer engagement. I think a potential role, and this is me just speculating, what about like a synthetic audience analyst? So as you're building out these campaigns for the personas, like understanding how AI is interpreting the emotional response of each one to make sure it's like
absolutely
truly human. We've seen even with our tools that even with the best AI training, you get this degradation over time. AI starts to forget and lose its so
it gets lazy.
Let's get lazy.
You don't build that in, it just gets lazy.
So maybe someone that's responsible for marketing memory, like your institutional knowledge, your body of knowledge, just making sure it's staying current and the AI.
Oh my God, you can have it and have it organized, right?
Yes.
Instead of having to search for things forever. That is another great use of AI.
Another one, bias. It's been well documented that all these AI systems have been built with certain biases in them. So as we marketers start building out our own systems, who's making sure that the bias is eliminated from the stuff that we're building on top of the other biases so that we still come across authentic and
That's right.
So I think I know we're going long today. It was a big topic. So I think, as we talk about the CMO though, it seems like no matter what decade we check in, the CMO has got a lot on their plate, because they have to manage. But do you rebuild your team in real time? Do you just cut the whole group loose? Do you reskill? Do you retool? Like, how do you?
It depends on your company. If your company wants to pull the plug all at once and go through that versus doing it over time. And so sometimes it's a company decision and sometimes it's a CMO decision. And you're right, but we are seeing a lot more pull the plugs these days than we have seen in a long time.
And it's hard, do you? And who do you jettison and who do you reskill? And do you hire for AI skills first and marketing second, or do you hire for marketing first?
And Jeff, where the hell is the training, right? Where is the ongoing training? Where is the catalog of training? Where is the whole, where are they training all of this, right?
And we're seeing very little of that because as we know, there's almost never, I can count on one hand over the years, the companies that actually spend a lot on employee development and training. I mean,
especially in marketing, you'll have all this. No, it's not crap, but it really misses the boat on a lot of things that marketing needs, and that's so. There's going to have to be a way. And again, with AI, you can keep that training fresh and relevant so much easier. So while it used to cost $1 gazillion to create a whole library of training for marketers, now with AI, you just don't have to spend as much money. So there's no excuse not to have good training.
No, there isn't. And then there's career pathing, right? So what do we tell the senior marketers, the mid-level marketers, and the junior marketers? Because it is all changing, right? And there used to be a book, right? Well, there still is a book, the book about what got you here won't get you there.
Won't get you there. Yeah.
That was really just about management, moving into management, but that adage applies here. So the traditional path, when you were in marketing, you came out of school, you get your marketing degree, and you start moving up, and you do different functions. Like, doesn't exist anymore.
I think people who really manage the career path are the kind of people who will pause and say, here's what's happening. What do I want? What do I need? How can I take advantage of this? Or is this still the right place for me? Right. But again, you have to have a conscious and intentional effort around managing your career for that. But those are the questions that people are asking themselves every day.
I think you got to stop being a specialist, though, because the world's moving too fast, particularly if you go deep in any one tool.
It's so funny. Specialist, generalist, and I was thinking about this the other day. We started the company in 2007 when basically there was one marketing automation system and the CRM was Salesforce. And I think we had Google search or ads or something, right?
Well, yeah.
That's all we had. And now we are so inundated with technology. It's hard to have the right mindset and approach for how to filter through all of that. And so again, AI can help you do that, right? Imagine just you do an AI bot that says, here's what we do, here's what we have in our stack, Here's, our goals. So keep me informed around what's going on in AI that can help me improve all of that.
Yeah, I agree with all that. So I think you got to, regardless of where you are now, you remember people used to put, oh, I'm skilled in Word or Excel, or, now you don't put that on your resume because it's implied. It's a baseline.
It's
right?
implied that if you're breathing, applying for a job.
Yeah. So, right. But AI literacy is the same. Like you can't, it's not a skill. It's like you either have it or you don't, So
it's more like it can be a skill, right? But one of the things that we talk about is technology fluency, right? This is AI fluency, the ability to understand, gravitate, play with, experiment, and make something useful from AI as it continues to change. And that is an agility.
It is a skill, of course, but I meant
right. No, I know what you're talking about.
Saying versus it's going to be expected that everyone coming into the job force has a main base of AI.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And if you don't, you're not even getting out of the story.
No, you're not.
Skill. Same thing, like prompt engineering. Like if you don't know how to freaking write prompts by now, again, same thing. Like this is table stake kind of stuff. You need to do that. So I think it's some of the things you said already. It's strategic fluency, it's emotional intelligence, it's data fluency, it's ethical judgment, deep thinking, critical thinking. Storytelling is still more than any other time in marketing is more important than it's ever been.
More than ever, because there's so much crap out there.
Yeah, there's
so much crap out there. And again, you can't tell the story if you don't understand the customer.
No, you're absolutely right. And AI, you can feed it and you can prompt it, and with a lot of structure, sure, you can get it to tell a passable story, but it's still lacking that human.
That zhuzh.
Yeah, that just like that.
Gotta have that zhuzh.
What is the French expression? What is it? What is it? The zest of life? I forget what they call it, but sometimes.
C'est la vie. This is life.
Yeah, this is life. It's one of those things.
Anyway, one of those things. We'll do French next time, okay?
So, and I think, the more things change, the more there's been so much talk about authenticity over the years. But now, that will become
still not there.
Yeah, but that will be the ultimate differentiator is human authenticity, because if we already are in this age of robots and bots and systems and processes and synthetic crap. So, how do you stand out? You stand out by being human, by being uniquely you and embracing the things that truly make us who we are, and make our companies who we are, and getting back to the soul of the brand. That's what's going to be really critically important. So
I agree.
Definitely going to be an interesting time.
And make sure that, it resonates with your clients, with the clients that you're going after, right? So, yeah.
But, like with all things, and we've seen change accelerate, Deb, over the 20 years we've been doing this. But guys, you can't be afraid. It's going to keep coming. So you either get on board the train and you just figure it out and you roll with it, or you get rolled over by it. But
That's right.
It's here.
Or go get another job somewhere, or get out of marketing. Just get out of marketing. Oh, well, no, get out of corporate America. Because I can't think of a single place, unless you're just one of those people that just want to show up to work and rubber stamp things and cut and paste, and then God bless you, right?
Yeah, we went deep today, Deb.
We went deep today. So I always love talking about AI. It's changing the world. It's changing our lives. And I've mentioned before, I've always been a big sci-fi fan, and sci-fi is here. I mean, it's the future, and it can be very exciting and it can be very scary, and there's good and there's bad. But it is here. And I think that not only does it affect corporate America, it is affecting every part of our lives, every single part of our lives, personal, professional, religious, every single part of our lives. And so you just have to have your stance and your belief and your approach, and then go from there.
Amen. Until next time, I'm Jeff.
All right. I'm Debbie. See you guys.
Raw.